Oh, hi there. So today we're going to be installing some quarter panel patch panels. Oh, Dan here to use feet chop. Just probably say that. So this car, we're going to do it differently on this side than we are on the other side. But this side we're using some replacement panels. The reason being, the car was obvious. I mean, this thing was an absolute wreck at some point in its life. Parts car. It had moved around in the yard with a loader or something like that. And everything has just been all kind of mangled. So this section here, the dog leg, and into the rocker, I don't know if I got the right angle here or not, but it's completely missing. There's literally just the door there. It's supposed to have a section that follows it. Being a parts car, I'm sure someone chopped that out. The dog legs rot out on four-door Tri-5 Chevys. If you guys are Tri-5 guys, you know they all rot out. So if this one was decent, they probably got snaked. Back here, this whole fender lip is all bent and rolled, and it's rotted through both sides of it. It's got like a little pinch around. And then back here, it's actually not bad for rust, but it's twisted 7 ways from Sunday there. So I decided to bite the bullet and I bought proper panels. So I thought in this video I'd show you how I'm going to put them on. Now, this is not an instructional video. This is how to butcher some panels on your hot rod. I think I'd take my time and kind of show you how it's done, or how I do it, and go from there. So I bought 2 half sections. So the front section right here, and then this is the rear section. This is kind of like the cheapest way to do it. They can sell obviously a full quarter panel. I believe they sell actually a half panel, and they sell these 2 pieces, and one was in stock and one was cheap to order. So that's the way we went. This section here is going to eliminate a lot of this back door patch. Is what I'm thinking. These panels, I find they're the easiest to use when there still is some structure or something to kind of go off of. On a full quarter panel, you line it against the door and across the top, so you know where the panel's going to fit if it's really rotted here down. Because these panels are from the bottom up, we have to find a place for these to kind of find their home and then mark it and put them in. Doesn't have to be perfect, in my mind anyways. It has to look right though. The last thing you want is the thing pointing weird. So I mean, a Tri-5 Chevy has the classic teardrop wheel opening. Well, if all of a sudden it's pointed down across the tire or weird like that, it'll look goofy, in my mind anyways. So this front panel is quite a bit taller than the back panel, unfortunately. I thought both were going to join behind the trim, which isn't quite the case. The front panel, I believe, will. Kind of line it up against the bottom of the rocker, and about where the door gap's going to be, you can kind of see. That is essentially what it's going to look like. Originally I wasn't planning on using the whole panel, but I think I will now. I'm going to splice it right down here, get this folded door jamb piece out. We're not going to use that right away. We might fit it in after, because I'll show you there is a gap in there. The other thing is, we have, because it's four-door, we have a 4-door rocker on here, which is completely boxed and welded to the floor, and this gives it a whole heck of a lot of strength. This is obviously just a skin, so you don't have that. So what I'm thinking, we'll line it up, again, this would be a head. If I slice it right where the rocker would be, right in through there, I'll then just weld it solid, and then back here will be floating in space. I'll have to make a backing piece for it. And otherwise, the rest, once we have the front where we want it, and this up against the rocker, the top's just gonna be a simple cut and weld it in and be done with it. I have used this panel before. I did it on my 55 Chevy, I believe, and then I radiused it like an idiot. So that was a good way to spend some money. So we'll get that going. I think we're gonna start at the front, simply because we have 2 good areas to work off of. The door jamb, we know where the door is going to be, it ain't moving, and then we know where the rocker is going to be, it ain't moving. So if we get those 2 correct, the rest of the panel is going to be what it's going to be. There's no way around that. And at the back, once we get this panel on, I'm going to roll over these panels either, they're pricey. The back panel here will have something in the front to line up. So this panel actually overshoots the other panel. Will probably cut it about there. I will probably cut out this junk, just get it out of the way. I'll straighten out the bottom here as much as we can. We'll take all the trim off, just so we don't kind of nick it and get in the way, and obviously we're going to be welding probably behind it in a lot of the cases. We should be able to kind of fit this up against the, this part right here. I'll show you. This part right here is useless, but this part here is where the bumper fits. So we'll slice that out. That'll give it a nice place to fit up against, much like at the front in the door jamb. And then at the front here, we can line up the wheel arch to the new panel. So we'll be able to kind of size that up and go from there. Then again, we'll just cut it out, weld it in, and that's it. The nice thing about these Tri-5s, there's no inner wheel tubs. Well, there is, but they're kind of goofy and they're way up top and stuff like that. So we should, I mean, it's a fair bit of work. Basically, I'm going to turn my brain off, start hacking and slashing. Again, this can all be fixed and done all sorts of different ways. This door has a big crease in it. I actually bunged up a little bit when I cut this door too. I got a gap. So by the time I fix all those things, we'll chop it out and go from there. So I'll get the trim taken off, and we'll get the panel kind of fit up, and we'll see what the next step will be. As I said, I want to go step by step, and I'll show you how it's done, or how I do it, how I butcher it. Okay, so we're back at it. I've got some of the trim off. I didn't take it all off. Some of these are a pain to get to, and you're going to break fasteners. This one here is a real pain. It's right in the back side of the trunk, which it's going to be ugly to bodywork in there anyway, so it might have to come out down the road, but not right now, not today. I also think I've tracked down a full piece of this spear. Everyone hates the 4-door trim on a 2-door. I get it. I don't blame you, but we're budget conscious around here. Anyways, so it's not quite going to fit. We're going to run up into the trim there. But we kind of trim this panel in a fashion, something along those lines. It will then follow this body line. And honestly, I want to try and weld it kind of below. Like the trim is right here, and the hole for the mounting is right there. So if we go right in the middle or something like that, we don't have to re-drill holes, and we'll hide some of the body work behind the trim, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Well, you guys know me. Perfection is the name of the game. Anyways, we're going to slice this, so we're going to go just kind of down around like this. I'm going to go right on the edge, though, so we can save this piece as much as possible. Once we get that, then we can put it up against the car and see what we're going to trim. Probably next we'll kind of mark here, and then we'll do the same little curve. We'll cut that out. I'll probably cut this stamp piece off as well. Same with back here. I'm not a big believer in lapping panels. I like button them. I always think that looks the best. And I'll probably trim out this section right here. So we'll get that done right now. Then we get the panel fit nicely and decide what the next step's going to be. Might be taking a break because it's not going well. Can never underestimate taking a break as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and cut this stuff out on a workbench. It's safer. Okay, so there we go. Panel. So you can kind of see, we're just going to eyeball this thing. Something along like that. Now what I like to do, just mark where this panel wants to be, and you can decide how much this you're going to chop off. Again, we're just kind of eyeballing it. We just want it door gap decent, which we are. Around here, kind of decent. This may have to be trimmed a little bit. The stamping is never as nice as you want. And again, we're locked up against the bottom of the rocker, so it can't go up. We're where we want to be, and we're good. So this X, or this panel, essentially wants to kind of go just into this just a little bit, which ain't really too bad. Put her actually under where it wants to be, under the trim I should say, up against the rocker. You can kind of mark, that's where the trim kind of starts. And where are we got right about there. So if we do kind of an eyeball cut like that, that should put us in and around the bottom of the trim line. So a bit, I might add a little bit or whatever. And really, a little bit too much is no big deal. We can always trim that out. As you guys know, metal's not as bad as wood if you cut it too short, but still a pain. What else was I going to do? Oh, I was actually thinking while I was cutting, you guys, I do a lot of thinking while I'm cutting. I'm actually going to cut the bottom of this door off right here. It's not doing anything anyways, it's just kind of floating in space. But if I do that, I cut that out. Once I get this panel fit, I can hold it and either clamp it, tack it, whatever I want to do. It'll be lapped over, which we're obviously not going to leave. But that'll give me this much space. I can then reach the pencil in the backside and mark on the backside of this panel where the rocker is. So I can give it a good cut, and then everything will just fit up perfectly. So we'll get this trimmed, and we'll see if we can get it fit up. And it won't be perfect, but it'll be close. Here's the next thing. Everybody probably hates it, but man, do I love tack welding stuff together. It just gives it that shape, and you can kind of get your eye on it, which I think is very important. So I'll line her up close-ish. So that is essentially what we're trying to accomplish. Now, you know what? I'll have to cut this down a little bit. This is actually irrelevant where it's going to be cut, as long as we're within that molding line. So I'll mark the front, I'll mark the back, I'll do a little tape line. And when we mount this properly, I'll zip cut through this panel and the door behind it, and then we can push it back and tack it as we go for a nice fit. The real concern is going to be, well, I'm probably going to tackle that underneath. Oh, I can just clamp it actually. But I'll do that. Because again, basically this line right here, we're going to cut it until where the rocker ends. We'll cut her straight down and we'll weld it up, across, down the door, across the top, and that's it. This wheel arch, she's going to be where she's going to be. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's locked up against the rocker, it's locked up against the door, what else is there? It's the trick is not to overthink it, especially on these patch panels as far as I'm concerned. And then the other one, we'll just kind of make her flow. Should be good. Doesn't this look a lot better already? I love putting a patch panel on, just tacking it on, seeing what it's going to do, because this is always the hard part. The initial cut and all those things, it used to drive me crazy. You'd spend, like whatever this was, $200, $250 on a patch panel for a Tri-5 Chevy, and you're like, oh, I'll just put it on there, it'll be perfect. And it isn't. It barely fits. The stamping on the wheel arch of a patch panel drive me nuts. On a Tri-5 Chevy, it's very pronounced, like very square around the edge. This is just round, you know what I mean? So I've done that before too. If you're gonna do this panel, you almost gotta do that panel. Otherwise you end up with a nice round, you know, wheel arch, and then it goes into a squared off factory one, and it looks like crap. So, my 2 cents. Anyways, I'm gonna do a little bit of screwing around, a little bit of touching up here and there. We'll get set up, and we'll start cutting and mounting this thing in. We're back. So, trimmed out the bottom. That was all fine. One thing I did, which this is a unique situation because we're not just replacing a panel, we're changing a door into a quarter panel patch. It's double wall here, so I can pull the door out and get in there real easy. Because once we start cutting all this stuff, the metal's going to have to come out through the back side. So I might actually cut right around here as well, just so it's easier to come out. Or you might make a few multiple cuts or whatever it may be. It's kind of irrelevant. You just want to make sure you can get the old metal out of it. So we're marked, you know, I'll cut a big chunk of it out, then just a little bit will come out. I did rough cut out the rocker, but now you can see I'll match up my tack welds. It fits real nice. We left lots of extra material. I'm a big believer in extra material because I've screwed up many times. So now we'll get her tacked. This is obviously pretty flexible. We'll tack it in a few different spots as to where we think it's going to be happy and find home. Then we can start working our way around and cutting out stuff, whether it's the outer panel to match what's behind it, or in this situation, because we're a little high, I've marked it. I'll show up on camera. I'll do a little line there, but I'll probably end up zipping this panel the whole way like this at the same curve as the trim will be the whole way. And then as we do that, we'll push this panel in, because obviously the panel behind it will cut them both at the same time. We'll start following out the back, we'll push it in, and we'll be able to start tack welding it, folding it in. That'll give us a nice butt weld. Go real slow, keep it nice and cool so you're not warping any panels, and we'll go from there. You're probably supposed to grind it all clean, nice metal, all that sort of stuff, but we're not going to do that. On the bottom side, we left it long. You can see here, I'll end up trimming this panel to match the rocker. We'll be able to kind of weld that all up. And then the inside, we can get to everything. It'll probably need some repair, obviously, but just like the wheel tubs and all that, that's all will be done from the inside. So next time you see it, I'll have this panel just tack welded into place. I'll start doing bit by bit. Unfortunately, I haven't figured it away. In the last video I did, I noticed the welder going in the background is a bit annoying. So I don't know how I'm going to do it with the sound, because we're going to be talking volume, grinding volume, and then the welder in the background's a little annoying, but it's the way it goes. I'm giving up listening to the radio for this, so it can't be all bad. Alright, we're right back. So we got the old panel tacked on. It actually worked out pretty good because I do have a bit of a gap there, so I gave her a couple of really good buzzes there. We're back on the original tack there, and the original tack to back that we did hang it with for all our tracing marks. That's important. So if you're going to tack it, match those, or if you're going to screw it, like self-tap, I've done that, self-tapper it on, or use those clamps, or what are those things called? Clecos? I got all that junk. But at the end of the day, I find this easier and a hack. So, next thing we're going to do, I'm going to get this bottom piece fit to what's left of the rocker by underneath, kind of cutting up and over, push it back, lock it into place. Then we can kind of walk across here or here, whatever we want to do, and start getting her in. Probably start at the top, because again, in my experience, this stuff's never going to go perfectly. I'm by far no expert. But I will say, like, the top of the car is more important to look good than the bottom of the car. No one's looking at your rockers. This is, 6 inches off the ground. If you lower it, it's even less. Nobody cares. Plus, you got fancy wheels on it. That's all people are looking at anyways. So this section here, which will be kind of important, and really it'll all be hidden by chrome and stuff. We'll keep the panel as big as we can. This is going to be the only part that we really want to spend some time on, body working and all that. At least that's what I'm doing. Don't listen to my terrible advice. Okay, so I don't know how it's going to go, whether it's fast motion with a little music behind it, or I might stop, say a few things along the way. Sorry if the grinding and welder noise is too loud. Let's wing it. This is working out perfect. So I sliced it along the bottom. This panel does kind of have a little bit of a curve in, just like we cut off of the like a step down, just like that. Just like that. So anyways, that'll be able to fill in no problem. Now what I'm doing, it's kind of a bit of eyeball work, but I'm just running the zip cut in, and as the rocker has rolled over, we want the panel to kind of cut like that. So we're just going to be able to butt it up, and we'll just be able to weld her the whole way up. Here I'm going to probably run out of space and stuff like that, because this is so flimsy now, but we'll be able to kind of get that all dialed together. So I'm just going to run the zip cut along there, put a few tacks, that'll hold it. So now we're locked in there, we're locked in there, and we'll start working our way on that. This will just literally put 1 or 2 tack welds on, if anything, because you got to remember, there's actually going to be nothing here, realistically, because that's where the other panel's going to have to join up. Okay, so there were a couple of practice cuts. I'll have to kind of weld back in there. It was fine, I didn't go all the way through, but we got her all dialed. Feels pretty good. Happy with it. So now we're going to start doing the same thing at the top here. The nice thing about this, we can actually see on the back side. So I'll probably just slice and dice in, put a couple of tacks, and I can take off our initial tack, and keep giving her. So here's what I'm talking about. Because it's tack weld, it's acting a little funny just right now. But we've got the top piece and the bottom piece separate, so you can see. We'll push it right back in there. So we'll just get her started. That ain't going nowhere. Now we can essentially, I'll give her a little more and then I'll slice the top one. Here's what we're working with. You can't see the little dirt line of the bottom molding, which means right where we want to be. So now I'm just going to feed the grinder in right on where I cut this panel. We got that out of the way. Give her a little push. There we go. So we're going to work our way all the way down, so maybe I'll bring you up nice and close. We'll kind of see it. Hopefully I don't smash sparks into the GoPro. These things ain't free, man. We'll keep going. Okay, so now we got the panel roughed in. Now the back piece, how is this going to come out? It's going to come out in two pieces, but it will come out. There we go. So the problem is, as you're zipping it across and you're welding the two pieces together, so right behind it, you get these little terrible tack welds. But there you go. Panel on, nothing behind it. You know, very crudely put on. That's enough for right now, and ultimately this thing has a bunch more strength now at the top. I still got to build a brace. Once you put all this stuff back down, you'll never know. We'll hide it underneath. No, I need the bottom piece of chrome, but it'll be all hidden. Alright, I'm taking a break, got to charge batteries, and we'll be back out, and we'll pull up on that rear pan, same as that. This should be a lot easier because we're not cutting through the door, matching the rocker. It's literally across, down the back, which is a little bit different. There's some spot welds or something like that we'll deal with. And we just gotta trim it to how much of this panel we want to keep versus that other panel, this panel I should say. We'll go from there, but simple, nice repair. Man, this thing was a rotten car. Wow. Alright, see you at the shopper. Alright folks, well we're back at her. So, the plan of attack here, I don't know what it is. No, I thought it out. I think what I'm going to do, now this, like I said, this panel's got a goofy stamping at the back here. It's got all this extra material we're not going to use. Well, I'm not going to use. I think what we're going to do, we're going to slice up around here on this panel. So that'll be right down there, all the way down there. Get rid of that. Now here, we can easily cut right on the corner, kind of get all that junk gone, or even right in here, get all that taken care of. I'm going to, I think, plug weld it to this. This is nice and strong. And then stitch it on the side there. And we'll do the same thing across wherever we go up in this area here that we did over there, kind of cut and weld. Now the problem is this thing is so wavy in and out and mangled up. I'm going to cut a lot of it out. I'm going to straighten it with the hammer and dolly the best I can. There's the big whammo here. I don't know if it shows up or not. And this right here. Now when you take off the corners and stuff like that, it might kind of come back a fair bit. So we'll line up the panel with that because that'll match. We'll run it across here. Now this panel, like I said, is kind of long. Oh man, it's kind of heavy too. Hang on. So we get her kind of ish lined up there. You can kind of see what we're going to run into along like that. So we're going to have to trim somewhere along there and join the two. So that's all we're going to do. There's not a whole lot of measuring here. Make it fit at the back, flatten all this out. Now all this is sticking out. Obviously we have a fold in the front, so it can't sit flat. All that'll have to be trimmed out. This will be trimmed out. We'll square this up. We'll probably just do some rough cuts. I'll probably just end up actually cutting it right around there, just right below here. So I leave the extra meat because we're going to join it, you know, on this side of the little dirt line, because that's where the molding will be. And we'll kind of go from there. I mean, there's not a whole lot of overthinking it here. Get it all apart, straighten it out, put it back on, stand back, just keep going further and further and further back until it looks good. So we got the tripod set up, and we'll start getting this junky steel out and get this new panels kind of fitted on there. angle. So I got everything trimmed out. I just put a couple of slits in the fender to kind of pull it out, or the quarter panel I should say. It's kind of irrelevant because it's kind of cattywampus. It stops getting all weird right about here. So, once I get the panel on, if it's still out to lunch, I can hammer and dolly it. But right now you're trying to hammer it, it's just not really happening. Once you get the strength of the panel. I still got a little bit of trimming to do. I'm just going to give it a quick little zip up in here, I believe. But we got this sucker kind of fit. Ish. I did cut this down a little bit because obviously it was squared off, but this is right below all the holes. Close, that one needs a little bit more, but good enough. And does it show up in the camera? It's right into the other panel, so we know that's where she's gonna be. Not a whole lot of arguing with it. So I'm going to, because I want to weld this right over, I'm gonna zip in here and get all that done so this will just be a flat piece. And yeah, right up there, and then up in this little bit to about there. I'll get that chunk just out so there's nothing. Put her on. You know what, I probably should mark that first, otherwise I'll forget. Overcut. Be embarrassed. It's on camera. And I'll just clamp her up. Alright, keep cutting. Okay, so the panel kind of laid up. I got a couple of clamps on it this time. This is kind of a long panel. Got a little bit of trimming to do there to make her fit. Kind of irrelevant. You're gonna have the trim covering it and the bumper going around, so whatever. I have my recommendations. If you can join stuff that's going to be hidden by trim, bumpers, anything like that, is way better than if you put a quarter panel on this thing and you put it right there, you're gonna have to body work from here to here, and it has a curve this way, and these things have a curve this way, and you got to make it look nice. Versus if you can join it up at the top like we did on the convertible section, behind this molding, whatever it is, it hides all that. And it doesn't mean it's a bad repair, it's just easier. This car also had some filler work back here actually, so I ground down, this is probably how you're supposed to do it, get it down to some bare metal. I'm gonna have to take, a little bit out of this side. But I want to get it just tacked in here, and we're gonna actually work probably, I don't know what way we're gonna go, back to front or what. This is where it has that little wave in it. So we're gonna we'll bring the body out to the panel, because I believe the panel has the right curvature. So if we give her a zip, push it from the back out versus the center in, or I mean meet in the middle, whatever. Give her a few buzzes. And at the front here, maybe we'll move the camera. We are overlaid, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches. So we'll probably just randomly pick a spot, cut it down, so it'll be a nice zip, and then this top piece will come right off. It'll all be flush in, and we're going. The only thing that's going to be a little crappy is right here. This panel wasn't quite as tall as this one, but once it's all welded and ground down and you got filler on it and the moldings, you'll never know. Let's get after it. a bit of a wobble to it, but put a dolly behind it and hammer it out. It'll be good. What happens when you get a dent is the metal stretches, so it doesn't want to go back together. I mean, all you gotta do is essentially hammer and dolly it. When you're doing is you're shrinking the metal. And that's what we're gonna do. So once it's on, this panel's good. We'll put a dolly on the back there and just beat the tar out of it. This little tackle is just holding on top, so I'll carry on my zipping. And once we're past this section here, the one I did up here, wherever, oh yeah, right there, it actually really flattened out. Be no big deal at all. This was the ugly one. But she's nice down there, and this will be covered because the chrome gets real fat right there. Okay, I'm back at her. The battery died on the GoPro. I'm not gonna lie, I kept giving her because well, it's nappy time right away, and I hate welding going right to bed, so finish welding, and then I'll cool up, make sure we got no fires. I'll show you the front after we do this. These kind of longer, more instructional videos where I'm doing more work ultimately eat up the battery a lot more, and I'm still learning how to do that. A lot of people wanted to see more work done. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If you are, make sure you comment and tell your friends and all that sort of stuff, because I'll figure it out. It just means more batteries and stuff like that, because it does take a lot more juice. Ultimately, it's no more work. Just turn the camera on and talking a little more, because the work has to happen no matter what. Anyways, I had a few people ask when I did the floor on the no, this one or the last one, how this little punch piece worked. So I thought I would just kind of do that. So the panel is kind of loosey-goosey. It's hilarious how these cars are so flimsy, but you literally just put the piece on. Oh, if I can fit it on. Over the rough cut's a bit of a pain. There you go. Wow, that's not very deep. There we go. You don't want to have your finger on it because it'll pinch it. Ask me how I know. Oh, it's good. There we go. Give her a few of these. I'll probably weld the end anyways a little bit, but so there you go. We got that essentially kind of there. The light kind of sucks. Nighttime will do that to you. So we'll just clamp this on. There we go. And it's very simple. You're gonna basically fill the hole, the plug there, to the metal behind it. So tuck it in a little bit. I missed the hole, but and there you go. Pretty simple. You can plug it all in. We'll get off the tripod. I'll show you. I put the trim on just to kind of show my little method of my madness to hide the welding and the cuts as much as possible. So there it is. I put the trim on. Again, 4-door trim. No one's really a fan. I get it. We can see the gap. We'll work on that. You know, it's a little long for the trim, but does the thing. Does the trick. So we have just a few little spots there we have to just kind of bodywork a little. Once it's all welded in, the trim might not hide it all, but pretty close. All down here will be fine. Obviously down here we gotta weld that and bodywork that. The only real spot is where it kind of, like these panels didn't quite join. So right here, I'll have to fill that. You know, from there to there, be weld, grind, and a little bit of body work. The rest of it, I shouldn't have touched much, and it's all right in this little seam. But I don't know, I think it looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more welding and grinding, but that's the part I kept giving her on after the camera died. But if you look down it, it's not all wavy or nothing like that. Turned out pretty good. The back worked out really good because the trim gets real fat there. So it basically hit almost all of it. There you go. Well, at the back, so it's all secured. That's how Tri-5s are, not a lot of structure to them. On the inside where the wheel well would be, or the tub, whatever you want to call it, it's just like got a rubber, or I don't even know what it is. Yeah, I think it's rubber, I guess. A little bumper that goes against it. So that's pretty much it. That's what I'm going to do with this video. Up next, I think I want to work on, it's already up on stands. I want to get the transmission mounted, check the drive shaft, see if we can get the exhaust fit, the headers. Might have found a set of fender well headers. Don't really suit a convertible, but they avoid that whole X-brace situation. Just run some side pipes. But yeah, I think I want to do a little bit of mechanical. That'll be really fun. I ordered a steering column for it. Got some Rock Auto stuff coming for it yet. All the brakes and all those sort of things. We can get that dialed together. We got to plumb it. We got to wire it. I got a wiring harness for it. But I think a little bit of mechanical. And then what I think I want to do, and you guys can let me know if this is a terrible idea or not. I want to do a video that's literally like all time lapse, or pretty much, where I'm just welding and grinding. Just start on one side, because we have to do the quarter, the door section up in there, up in the convertible piece. The whole door jam's not done. The rockers aren't done yet. On the other side we have to do that. The floors are just tack welded in. You know what I mean? The convertible stuff's basically done. We got to do bottoms of the fenders. We got to do the whatever, this little structure of the fender on both sides, I believe. These fenders are good. They didn't rotto it up here, which usually 57s don't. This side's needs to be kind of pulled out and welded up. A little bit down there, rockers, door, like the whole thing. I think it'd be kind of fun to do that. But essentially all the rust is cut out of this thing. I have just a little bit in the trunk to do. I think all I'm going to use is the support pan, this piece right there. I don't know if I'm going to use the trunk floor and the fancy piece, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. This is what the body mounts bolt to, so I'll, and it looks pretty sturdy back there, enough I can make something work. But yeah, it's coming along. I've ordered carpet. Rock Auto had carpet. I ordered a little convertible kind of top cover thing. Rock Auto also had that. So I think I'll get all those things together, get and see what this thing looks like. But it's really getting there. The last real issue is going to be the windshield frame. What I want to do, you guys had some great ideas with stainless steel exhaust. Kind of make something work and then weld it and polish it, and then ultimately it'll look okay. So there you go. Give it to the comments to come up with a bunch of great ideas. That's where I'm leaving it. Hopefully I can help you guys out, learn how to, well, watching me bugger together a quarter panel, or whatever you want to call it, on a Tri-5. Oh, I still gotta do this side. I forgot about that now that I'm looking at it. Just a little piece there and weld the door in. That's future Dan's problem. Current Dan wants to do a little bit of mechanical work. Thanks for watching. As always, really appreciate it. Tell your friends, do all those things, and I will see you on the next video, which we're starting tomorrow. It's always tomorrow. See you later.